I feel really bad, and I feel like I have to apologize to you. As a guitar geek, you've been bombarded by really crummy, kinda lame holiday songs. Whatever holiday party you go to, whatever mall you walk into, whatever store you find yourself in holiday shopping, chances are, piped through the speakers, are just these cheesy, campy holiday songs that get in your head. It's almost as bad as It's a Small World After All. Well, all that changes today. As guitar geeks, as acoustic guitar geeks, we need to reclaim the holidays. We need to reclaim those holiday songs because down at their core, they're really good. In fact, today I'm going to share with you a whole gaggle of artists that excel when playing holiday songs. As a matter of fact, they're all acoustic artists. So I am excited to dig in today, and I think we should do this in a little bit of a countdown fashion. In fact, today I want to share with you my top 10 acoustic guitar geeks that play holiday songs in a fashion that, well, just reclaims the joy of holiday songs. So coming in at number 10, I've got Doyle Dykes for you. Doyle is an incredible guitar player and one that I've had the absolute pleasure and honor to play with on stage. It was one of those situations where he's like, hey, come out and play this song with me. So I did. And then as I was out, he's like, hey, let's keep playing more songs. And I was like, well, we didn't rehearse any more songs, but we did it anyway, and we had a blast. Well, he's a masterful arranger and a guitar player that seemingly makes everything look easy. So here he is playing the song Little Drummer Boy. You can find that song along with many other Christmas songs on his album fittingly titled Christmas with Doyle Dykes. And one of the things that I love about this album is the fact that the cover just reminds me of an old kind of 60s, 70s, maybe even 50s Chet Atkins album. Just kind of the way the color is, the way the color saturation is, and the whole vibe. Well, it's just very Chet Atkins to me, and pretty fitting because Doyle, one of Doyle's guitar heroes was, of course, Chet Atkins. Now, moving on down our countdown, next up, I've got an artist for you that isn't necessarily commonly associated with holiday tunes, nor is he associated with fingerstyle. In fact, he's a flat-picking pioneer. His name is Dan Crary, and chances are, if you're a bluegrass guitar lover, well, you've probably heard of Dan Crary before. In fact, he paved the way in one of his kind of signature tunes, I think, is Devil's Dream. And he has an interesting way of flat picking, and he brought that interesting way of flat picking to holiday songs. In fact, here he is playing the song The Last Noel on a 12-string, no less. If you're curious about how flat picking segues into holiday songs, well, you should definitely check out Dan Crary's album, Holiday Guitar, where you can find that tune along with many other holiday favorites, all done in a flat picking fashion. In fact, it always amazes me how you can take these same group of songs, the same lump of Christmas or holiday songs, and give them to many different artists and ultimately get different results. You hear that they're the same tunes, but they're all different because the artist puts their own little sonic fingerprint on them, which I think is just so cool, and which is why this list is so awesome. And there's another important lesson that I gained from Well, actually, there's a couple important lessons that I gained from compiling this list, and I'll get to those a little bit later. One of them involves marital advice, the other one involves musical advice, but we'll get to that in a second. Let's first go over the number 8 position, and in the number 8 position, we've got David Grisman. David Grisman is a phenomenal musician, and a phenomenal acoustic musician, a mandolin player no less, so he's still in the acoustic realm, not so much guitar, more mandolin, but it doesn't matter because he's awesome. His arrangement abilities are like a superhero, and he has his own way of putting, again, his sonic fingerprint on these tunes. So here he is playing the song God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen with none other than Jerry Garcia. All right, if you liked that approach to holiday songs, that kind of hot club, bluegrass, jazzy approach, you'll definitely dig David Grisman's Acoustic Christmas album. In fact, it's one that I think you should own. It was released, I want to say, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I want to say. I don't have an exact year, but a fantastic album nonetheless, and one that should grace your shelves, and you should probably proudly play during every holiday function throughout the entire month of December. And I gotta tell you, it's even fun to listen to beyond December. All right, so before I go any further, I do want you to know that I'm gonna be giving you a playlist of all these songs, so don't worry about it. You don't have to write them all down. I mean, if you're the writing type, you can write them down, but if you don't write things down, it's okay. I'm compiled this whole list for you in a playlist on Spotify. You can find that at acousticlife.tv/AT122. All right, last week on Acoustic Tuesday, it was all about the blues. Yes, we had a blockbuster of a blues fest here on Acoustic Tuesday. We looked at the Stella Guitar Book by Neil Harp. I gave you my 5 favorite modern-day built blues guitars. We also checked out vintagebluesguitars.com, which I hope you bookmarked because, well, it's a site that you need to visit frequently. And we listened to Valerie and Ben Turner, who together make up Piedmont Blues. This week on Acoustic Tuesday, we've already started on the holiday wish list of acoustic musicians. We're going to keep going down that list. I've got those 2 strong pieces of advice for you, both, well, one marital, one musical, and of course, we'll be celebrating the holidays here on Acoustic Tuesday, and I'll share with you that playlist again. That's all coming up right after this. I'm Tony Policastro, and this is the Acoustic Tuesday Show. Guitar Geeks, unite. Welcome to Acoustic Tuesday, episode number 122. This is the show where you're going to learn about acoustic guitar gear, discover acoustic artists, and get inspired to live your very best acoustic life. As with all episodes of Acoustic Tuesday, I'm going to share with you my Guitar Geek list for the week. And I am excited to dig in today because I've got a whole slew of artists that you probably, well, actually some of them you've probably never heard of. So not only do you get this awesome list of holiday songs, but you get a bonus list of artists to check out beyond these holiday albums. I mean, it's really a 2-for-1 special. It's almost like a Black Friday deal, but way closer to the holidays. But before we dig into the rest of the list, of course, I have some Guitar Geek trivia for you. So in the spirit of the holidays, here is your question. In the year 2018, roughly how many acoustic guitars were sold in the United States? A, 575,000, B, 716,000, C, 1.23 million, or D, 1.49 million. Go ahead and ponder that, and at the end of the show, I'll be sure to give you the answer. Now, included in that category of acoustic guitars are acoustic fretted instruments. So keep that in mind when you're choosing your answer, and of course, choose wisely. Now, before I dig into the remainder of the holiday wish list of acoustic guitar geeks, well, I want to ask you a favor. What's your favorite acoustic-infused holiday album? I know there's a ton out there. I've only selected 10. Well, it's my top 10, but there's some special surprises that I'll get to. Nonetheless, I've probably left a couple that are really good off of the list. So that being the case, in the comments below, please let me know what your favorite acoustic guitar holiday album is, and go ahead and share the title and the artist in the comments. So, well, it'll benefit all of us guitar geeks, so we can have the merriest, happiest holidays across the land. As Clark Griswold said, the merriest bunch of something this side of the Mississippi or something like. I probably goofed the line, but you get the idea. If you see National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which I'm assuming all of you have, it's the best line in the entire movie. He just got his bonus delivered, his bonus, which is like the Jam of the Month club. He thought it was going to be this big kind of cash bonus. He was going to buy a pool for the holidays for the family, and he already put the down payment on. Anyways, it's my favorite holiday movie of all time. In fact, in the comments below, if you have a favorite line from that movie, you can go ahead and leave a quote, because I'd love to read those on a future episode of Acoustic Tuesday. It would give me an excuse to read those on a future episode of Acoustic Tuesday. Like when he's shopping and his boy comes along. Anyways, it doesn't matter. It's not the point. It's not the point. Yes, it's holiday themed, but it's not the holiday theme we want. We want music. We want acoustic guitar music. In fact, this next chunk of artists I have for you are downright fingerstyle monsters. Not only are they fingerstyle monsters, they've generated a wealth of information for all of us guitar geeks to learn from. Yes, not only are these talented musicians, they're fantastic teachers as well. So coming in at number 7 is Laurence Juber. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it probably sounds familiar because he was the guitarist, is the guitarist for Paul McCartney's Wings. And he's just a downright fun player to watch play. So here he is playing the song, Deck the Halls. The holiday album you need to know about from Laurence Juber is called Holidays and Hollynights. A great little cartoon kind of cover and a fun little play on words. But beyond that, he's one of those guitar players that you watch play and you're like, how is everything he does, how does he make it look so easy? Why does the most complicated thing seem so easy when the guitar is in his hands? Not to mention the guitar in his hands is his Martin signature model, which is, I want to say it's one of the first signature models I played from Martin when I was working at the Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago. In fact, he did a clinic there, and I remember him walking in, and I didn't know who he was at the time because I was just getting into acoustic music. He walked in the store, and I saw him, and he just struck me as an awesome player. Just by looking at him, I know that's not really fair, but he just seemed like an awesome player. Then he sat down in the corner, played a little bit in the store, and my jaw just was on the floor. And I couldn't even talk to him the rest of the time because I was like, this guy's amazing. I don't know who he is. And then somebody later was like, oh, that's Laurence Juber. You know, he plays with Wings, you know, Paul McCartney's Wings. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. And it's a good thing I didn't know that prior to, because I probably would have had an accident. And I would have had to leave the store. It would have been embarrassing. Nonetheless, an awesome guitar player. And speaking of awesome guitar players, that brings me to number 6. Now, this is one of those players that has contributed a wealth of instructional material to the guitar world. His name is Doug Young. Now, if that name doesn't ring a bell, it's okay. I'll dig into him a little bit more here in a second. But first, I want you to hear his song, O Little Town of Bethlehem. Now, Doug played that entire song. In fact, he plays most of his songs out of DADGAD tuning, which makes the name of his Christmas album pretty fitting since it's entitled A DADGAD Christmas. Now, along with that album, there's an accompanying tab book, so you can learn his arrangements as well. And if you go to his website, you'll be just inundated with the amount of incredibly quality instructional material that he's put out in the world. So not only is Doug a fantastic player, but he really shares his knowledge, and for that, I thank him and all of us guitar geeks. In fact, I'll just go ahead and thank him on behalf of all of us guitar geeks. Doug is a fantastic player, one that I enjoy listening to because, again, it comes down to the arrangements. And it's so cool, again, to hear these songs that we've heard probably, our whole lives, just kind of these different takes, specifically applied or specifically for the acoustic guitar, and each artist's personality kind of comes through. In fact, that brings me to the next artist that I have for you. And his name is Mark Hanson. I had the pleasure of meeting Mark by chance at a NAMM show back in, I want to say, 2006. I was going through, I was a book buyer at the time, and I went, it was either Alfred, Hal Leonard, or Mel Bay, or somebody else. It was one of the book publishers, and I remember going to the booth and seeing this guitarist playing it. And at the time, I want to say he was playing a Collings guitar, but it could very well have been his Goodall. But I was floored. He had the hat on. He was a cool looking dude, a smooth operator. But his guitar playing was it was mesmerizing. I was like, wow, what a great fingerstyle player. Well, come to find out, this individual is Mark Hanson. And his arrangement we're going to hear is called Go Tell It on the Mountain. And this is exactly what I talk about when I talk about a guitarist's personality shining through when they play. So here's Mark playing Go Tell It on the Mountain. Mark's holiday album is entitled Yuletide Guitar, and what I love about that particular arrangement is just the drive that he puts behind it, and also the ease of his picking hand. You watch that performance, and his picking hand is like just chill, but it's just driving the whole entire song. That bass is just constant, and it's really propelling the tune. So really fun to listen to. And Mark, along with Doug Young, has a plethora of teaching materials out there. In fact, I believe Mark hosts a finger-picking camp. I'm not entirely sure where, but I was just on his website briefly, kind of gathering some information for the show. But a fantastic teacher, one of those players that not only is a great player, but a great teacher as well. So kudos to Mark. Thanks for making good music, and thanks for sharing it with all of us. Now remember, you don't have to write all these artists down, because not only do I have more artists coming up for you, but I've actually compiled them on an Acoustic Tuesday holiday playlist. You can find that at acousticlife.tv/AT122. In fact, many of these artists, obviously, they don't just release holiday albums. So as I go through this list, I want you to know that, you're compiling a list of some potent acoustic guitar players here that I want you to do your own research on, because this is just kind of those, again, 2-for-1 Black Friday special type of deal. Now, I want to get into some show comments, but before I do that, let me share with you the first piece of advice, or the first lesson that I learned while doing the research for this special holiday song-infused episode, and it's the marital advice that I was speaking of. Nothing makes your spouse happier than if they really dig the holidays to play holiday music. Now, I've never been one to really like holiday music. In fact, it drives me crazy. But when I was doing research for this show, I was like, now I can get behind this holiday music. I dig these arrangements of old Christmas songs and things. I really like, because I like the acoustic guitar. Well, I played these while Whitney and I were out doing errands this weekend. She was really happy. In fact, at one point, I switched songs because the album was repeating. It was one of the artists I have coming up. And she said, "Why'd you stop that? That's my favorite song." And I think it was one of the only times I have gotten into music so deeply and just been really trying to listen to as much as I can that Whitney has actually stopped me and said, "I want to listen to what you're playing." So I'm pretty excited about that. So just a quick little piece of advice before we get into these show comments. Holiday music, apparently, some spouses really enjoy that. And I would like to say that this Acoustic Tuesday Spotify holiday playlist is probably one that'll earn you some points with your significant other. So I would strongly recommend checking it out at acousticlife.tv/AT122. Now let's move on to those show comments I was talking about. We're going to kick things off with a little bit of guitar gratitude from Brandon Boyd. And he says this: guitar gratitude for my grandfather. He played gospel bluegrass. I remember Sundays as a kid that he would play in church. I started playing at 14 because I loved Slash. I listened to Clapton and all the rock greats on my guitar journey through high school. In my early 20s, I explored the world of jam music with band and Grateful Dead. When I was 15, though my papa gave me a D28 that he built himself out of maple and walnut, then when I was in my late 20s, I discovered Tony Rice and my life was changed. Now I'm almost 30 and bluegrass is 90% of what I listen to, with the other 10% being Christian music. In the end, my grandfather rubbed off on me. I own that D28 he built and a D18 that he built as well. The D18 has cherry wood on top, mahogany back and sides. The only other guitar I own is an Epiphone Pro 1 Ultra Acoustic Electric. My guitar heroes are Tony Rice, Del McCoury, and Carter Stanley. However, my life hero is my grandfather. He still builds guitars. He has made a little around 20 at this point. I have 2 of them. My uncle has one of them and my grandfather's old Martin. My grandfather holds on to the others despite my best effort to talk him out of some. I love the show, Tony. Well, thanks for the comment, Brandon, and thank you for sharing your guitar gratitude. Next up, this was in response to our J45 tribute episode. This comment comes from Sharon Tiano, and she says this: I think Dom's 51 J45 is probably the best guitar out of all our combined inventory. Just something about the sound and look of it. I concur. There's a lot of power behind this statement because Dom and Sharon own a ton of guitars. And I was there when Dom bought this 51 J45. In fact, he bought it at an Acoustic Life Festival. And holy smokes, it's got all the mojo. It sounds great. Just a great guitar. So, hey, Dom and Sharon, thanks for commenting in. Next up, the comment comes from Bruno N. And he says this: so in the interview, he said his main J45 banner is with laminated maple back and sides. Now, the he's referring to in this is Russ Barenberg, our featured artist from the J45 episode. He says this: I heard on few occasions that there was laminated ones. Interesting, he has one, and it's in maple. And he actually included a link to the interview. So for those of you who are curious, go to that J45 episode, find that comment. You could see the Russ Barenberg interview right there. Our next comment comes from Pat Cross, and he says, great show again. Thank you. I own an HD28, but have a deep lust for the J45. It's on my someday list. Thought you might have John Walker on the non-Gibson J45 list. I played one once at Greg Boyd's. I was blown away, and I still think of that guitar. Indeed. In fact, I had asked for you all to recommend other J45 type guitars, and Pat did just that with John Walker. John Walker used to work at Gibson, I believe, if I have my John Walker straight, and he makes fantastic instruments. So thank you for that recommendation, Pat. I certainly appreciate that. Next up, a comment from KC Sprigg. And they say this: here's an upvote for the Husson Dalton DS. I own a 2006 DS Custom, and it has become a go-to guitar for me. This guitar helped launch my guitar geekiness to extraordinary levels. The team at Husson Dalton have very high standards for their guitars and also care greatly about their customers. Amazing guitars, fantastic people. Well, thank you for that comment, and it's also great to hear that not only do they make awesome guitars, they're just downright great human beings and guitar geeks to boot. Our final comment / question, it's actually a twofer, and I wanted to address both these questions. The comments happen to be right next to each other, so you know what? Here they are on one convenient little screen for you. The first question comes from Nolan. How do you feel the J45 Studio matches up with the original J45? I'm extremely biased and pretty partial to the original J45, so I think the original J45 is certainly a cut above, but I do appreciate Gibson introducing the J45 Studio because it offers the J45 kind of sonic package at a little bit lesser of a price range, a little bit less expensive, but if I had my druthers, it'd be the original J45. The next question comes from George, and he says this: hey Tony, great show as always. Talking about the J45, I'm wondering what's your opinion on the Gibson LOO, because I always wanted to buy a Gibson acoustic guitar and now I can't decide between the J45 and the LOO. This is a difficult question. Totally different instruments, but I will say this. The LOO is fantastic. It's got laser-like projection, it's got that boxy kind of gruff bluesy sound, and it's really comfortable to play. Whereas the J45 you might find a little bit sweeter, a little bit more lush, still comfy to play, but definitely something different in the sonic end of things. If it was a desert island situation for me, gosh, I think I'd take the J45. It's got kind of a more of a Swiss Army effect, in my opinion, but the LOO is pretty darn good too. Again, yeah, for me it'd be the J45, but the LOO is on my list also. In fact, I used to own this really killer old Gibson. I think it was it was either the 30s or the 40s. It was a Hawaiian guitar, square neck, built off of kind of an LOO body. Great guitar. So I've certainly have my fondness for the LOO. But again, I'd go with the J45 because it does a lot of things pretty darn good instead of just one thing really excellently. Hopefully that makes sense. Now let's sink back into our holiday goodness. Again, I'll get to that piece of musical advice that I keep alluding to. In fact, if you don't like holiday songs, if you're sticking with me on this list and you think, gosh, you know, Tone, I like these artists and I'll explore them, but I just can't get into holiday songs, I'm actually going to reveal the hidden power behind these holiday songs. And it has nothing to do with the holidays whatsoever, and it has everything to do with your guitar journey. But I'll get to that a little bit later. Let's launch back into our list, and the number 4 position is held by Doug Smith. Doug Smith is maybe not a name that just kind of pops into your mind immediately when you're talking about guitar, but he's a 2006 Winfield fingerstyle guitar champion, and he's an incredible player. I mean, talk about one of those players that makes things just look way too easy. You're watching Doug play and you're like, what? How are you doing what I think is so hard so easily? Well, time and practice is the answer. And here is an example. Here's Doug Smith playing the song Sleigh Ride. Now, Doug has some very acoustic guitar geeky albums for us to choose from. The first one being A Guitar for Christmas, that's the title, and the second one being Another Guitar for Christmas. Yes, both of the albums feature the headstock of a good all guitar and some stellar arranging of some common holiday tunes. In fact, I was aware of Doug some time ago. In fact, I bought an album of his. It's all blue. I believe it's called Doug Smith, a Fingerstyle Guitar Collection or something like that. And I remember receiving the album and looking at the cover thinking, I'm not really jiving with this cover. I don't know about this. I put it in the CD player and all my worries were whisked away because I was just inundated in my ears with fingerstyle goodness. Doug Smith's a hell of a player and somebody you should definitely know. All right, moving to the number 3 position. This is a guitar player. First of all, I got to read a couple quotes. The Toronto Fingerstyle Guitar Association refers to this player as the Jedi Master of Fingerstyle Guitar. That's pretty high accolades. I don't know much about Star Wars, but I know that being a Jedi Master is a good thing. It's a good thing. It's something you'd want to put on your resume if you're applying for an intergalactic job of sorts. I think that would come with, it's a pretty high accolade, pretty high regard to a Jedi Master. And Stephen Bennett certainly lives up to that name. He's a phenomenal player, one that, again, talk about that sonic fingerprint on common tunes. Here he is playing the song Walking in a Winter Wonderland. So let's just address the bounce and the jump and the kind of overall joy in that arrangement. It's amazing. In fact, all the arrangements on his album, Christmas Acoustic Guitar Solos, is fantastic. He's just one of those players that he gets the drive behind the tunes and he just uses that. In fact, this is one of the albums I was listening to this weekend while driving around with Whitney, and she really liked that album. So bonus points for that. So he comes in at the number 3 position, but with extra bonus points for spousal approval. In fact, Stephen Bennett, just one more note on him, is an incredible harp guitar player. In fact, he founded the Harp Guitar Gathering. And if you've never seen a harp guitar being played, Stephen is your one-stop shop because he is a master and he uses it just so well and so elegantly. A great guitar player and somebody you should definitely know, even beyond holiday songs. All right, coming in at the number 2 position, and this is a guitar player that is near and dear to my heart. I had the wonderful chance, honor, and privilege to interview him just, gosh, I want to say shy of a year prior to his passing, and that is Pete Huttlinger. Pete Huttlinger is wow, you want to talk about a fingerstyle guitar player that really takes arrangement into the stratosphere, talking about intergalactic space travel and things like that. Well, that's where Pete took his arrangements. In fact, here's a song that Pete arranged in a great way, entitled The Christmas Song, and he really plays it up here. You'll see by the hat that he's wearing. All right, if you dig Pete's style, you're going to want to check out First Light, a Pete Huttlinger Christmas. That is his Christmas album, and one that is full of, again, those classic tunes, but done in Pete's signature way. And one of the things I love about Pete's arrangements, and you saw that in that particular tune there, was his use of chord melody, where each melody note kind of has some chord body behind it. You watch his left hand move across the fretboard and it's like, whoa, man, that's a lot of movement. But the result is this beautiful, lush arrangement. And I think that's one of the things that is Pete's secret power. He has these beautiful voicings behind the chords that he uses and the melody notes that he chooses to include, that it just makes for something that is really unique to Pete and his playing. So make sure to check that out. And also I'll recommend, I've referred to another couple of players adding a bunch of instructional material into the world of us acoustic guitar geeks. Pete's one of those instructors that not only is he a great player, fantastic teacher as well. And of course, he is sorely missed because, wow, what a stellar human being on top of being an amazing player. Now, I have one more artist in this chunk. It's not in the number 1 position, and you'll notice that all of the artists I've included have a dedicated holiday album. And I thought to myself, I have to include this person. I've been getting so much flack lately because I've missed 2 episodes of not including her, not mentioning her, and I feel really bad about that, and I'm just trying to make up for it. Now, I know that this next individual doesn't necessarily have a holiday album dedicated to all holiday songs. However, she's part of the Acoustic Tuesday family, and she has played a holiday song before. So here is none other than Molly Tuttle playing and singing the song Old Toy Trains.
Toy trains, little toy tracks, little toy drums coming from a sack, carried by a man dressed in white and red. Little boy, don't you think it's time you were in bed? Close your eyes, listen to the skies. All is calm, all is well. Soon you'll hear Kris Kringle and the jingle bells, bringing old toy trains, little toy tracks, little toy drums, coming from a sack, carried by a man dressed in white and red. Little boy, don't you think it's time you were in bed?
All right, I gotta just catch my breath for a second because there's a couple of things here we just have to address before we go down the list. Molly is a ridiculous guitar player, and I think her guitar playing speaks for itself. Her right-hand control, a lot of cross-picking in there, a lot of wonderful little licks and things out of chord shapes, but let's just focus on her voice for a second. There's a technique that she uses, and I don't even know what the hell to call it because I don't sing very well, but it's this like tremolo, like ugh, kind of a thing. Now, I know for a fact I didn't just do it justice there, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And it is mesmerizing, and it's all over that tune, and I just can't stop listening to it. It's so darn cool. So there you have it. Molly Tuttle made the list. I feel good about that. And remember, you can get all of these artists on one single holiday Spotify playlist if you just go to acousticlife.tv/AT122. You can use this playlist when you have a holiday party. Heck, you can use this playlist just to discover the artists and then check out their other albums if you hate holiday songs. And by the way, speaking of holiday songs, well, I'll get to that in a little bit. There's something special about holiday songs. It has nothing to do with the holidays whatsoever and has everything to do with guitar playing. I'll get to that when we get to our number one artist. But before I do that, I do want to remind you that you can support the Acoustic Tuesday show. You can show off your guitar geekiness by purchasing Acoustic Tuesday merchandise. Yes, there's a link right beneath this episode. And what I want you to do is find your favorite piece of Acoustic Tuesday gear, whether it be a shirt, a sweatshirt, a pair of pants, a phone case, a pillow, a wall hanging, a sticker, whatever the case may be. Go ahead and order that. And once you receive it, please take a picture of you supporting the Acoustic Tuesday show, showing off your Acoustic Tuesday merchandise. And once you take that picture, there's one final step I want you to do. I want you to upload it at acousticlife.tv. When you go to acousticlife.tv, you'll see a submit link in the top menu. Click on it. You can upload the photo, and I'll feature you on an upcoming episode of Acoustic Tuesday, waving your guitar geek flag, if you will. Now, next up, I want to visit the mailbag because, well, we've gotten some wonderful holiday arrivals, so I should just dig right in. I've gotten some fantastic cards. This first card has got a wonderful little cow message on it, and that's from Vic, so thank you, Vic. Merry Christmas to you. And then next, I've got a wonderful card here from Tony S. and his wife, Annette, down in Texas. Thank you to you guys. You guys are awesome. Just thanks for thinking of us here at Acoustic Tuesday. And then I have this wonderful coffee mug that's got the Acoustic Life logo on the back, and it's got me on it with a Christmas hat. Now, the funny thing is, I'll try and get this out of the light here. The funny thing is about this, I looked at this and I thought, I don't know if we have a Christmas hat. I don't know if I ever wore a Christmas hat. And then upon closer inspection, it's photoshopped on. But you fooled me. You fooled me. I want to say this is probably from Carol. I think it's from Carol, but if not, thank you to whomever sent it. Double thanks to Carol if you did indeed send it. Noah actually received one as well, but we've already delivered that to his house, so he can have a little Acoustic Life holiday at his house. Who knows what he's putting in his mug these days? With a daycare full of children, chances are it's about 3/4 scotch, 1/4 coffee or tea. And then the last arrival in the mailbag was from the folks at Music Nomad. I got their Frine fret polishing kit in addition to their Premier Guitar Care system. Now, the reason I got these is because I'm going to do an experience video with these. In fact, my Martin HD35, I gotta be honest, I've been a really poor guitar owner. I've kept it humidified, but with that humidification has come a little bit of oxidation on the frets, a little bit of oxidation on the finish of the guitar body, and it's just not looking good. I wouldn't bring the HD35 to my holiday party because, well, it's just not cleaned up right now. So I'm gonna use these products to clean it up, and then I'll report my findings. And if it tracks along with anything I've ever experienced from Music Nomad, It's going to be phenomenal. I've used their polish before, but I've never used this system. So I can't wait to do a full debrief on that and show you how nice and clean the HD35 is looking when it's all said and done. All right, holy smokes, we're on the #1 artist. Now, because this is Acoustic Tuesday and because I generally try and follow the rules, but never really follow the rules and oftentimes create my own rules, there are 3 #1 artists. You can't give me a group of acoustic guitar greats and say just pick 10. You just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it because there's too many great ones, and I know I've already missed a bunch. I hope you're leaving those in the comments down below, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pick just one #1, so I've got 3 #1s for you. But before I dig into those, I want to share with you the special message, the special lesson that I learned from listening to all of these holiday songs. So often I get the question, how do you arrange a song? How do you arrange a song for fingerstyle? How do you arrange a song for flat picking? How do you make your own arrangement? Well, studying these holiday arrangements is a great place to start, and here's why. It seems so obvious now, but these songs have been drilled into our heads. Like I said, you hear them at the mall, you hear them at the shopping center, you hear them at the gas station, you hear them everywhere you go throughout the month of December, sometimes November, sometimes even October. Stepping on the toes of Halloween, what's that all about? I digress. These songs you just know like the back of your hand. You know the melody. You can hum the melody. Think of one, think of Jingle Bells. Bam, it comes into your head immediately. This is a great starting point to creating your own arrangement. So often we take a song that we want to arrange that we're not essentially as familiar with as these holiday songs, and it's really difficult because not only are we learning the melody, we're trying to arrange it. Well, I would encourage you to start with a song like a holiday song or even a nursery rhyme because it's a melody you're super intimately familiar with. In fact, so familiar with that it's easy to start creating your own arrangements. It's easy to start finding that melody on the guitar. So starting with a silly song like Jingle Bells or Row, Row, Row Your Boat or something like that is a great seed to begin to learn how to arrange a song for the guitar all by yourself. That was one of the things that dawned on me while driving around with Whitney, listening to all these holiday songs. I'm like, man, it's kind of, you can hear the melody, even though the artist's take on each song is a little different, that melody shines through. And I think that's one of the things that we need to latch onto as acoustic guitar geeks, and especially we need to latch onto that if we're striving to make our own arrangements of any song. It doesn't have to be a holiday song, but these holiday songs make a great starting point. And speaking of holiday songs, let's visit the #3 spot, shall we? A dobro player whom I admire, a dobro player who I listen to all the time. Yes, Jerry Douglas. Jerry Douglas has a Christmas album, and here he is playing the song Christmas Time Is Here. So the Jerry Douglas album that you need to own is fittingly titled Jerry Christmas. Wishing you a Jerry Christmas. I love it. But anyways, I bought this album some years ago. I want to say it came out in 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. And I bought this solely on the fact that it was another Jerry Douglas album. Had nothing to do with Christmas music whatsoever. But now that we've lumped it into the holiday bundle of acoustic greatness, it's pretty awesome. I wanted to include it, even though it's not guitar, it's dobro. It doesn't matter. It's an awesome album with some great takes on some classic tunes. Next up, if you thought I was gonna not include this player on our list, you are drinking something other than coffee or water right now. because this artist needs to be on our list. Yes, Tommy Emmanuel. How could I leave him off of this list? He has a fantastic Christmas album. In fact, he's one of the only artists, I think, on this list so far that I've featured an original Christmas song. Now, this song is called One Christmas Night. You're gonna hear it and we're gonna evaluate it because holy smokes, it's incredible. So here's Tommy Emmanuel playing One Christmas Night. So that's off of Tommy's album, All I Want for Christmas, a stellar album, one that I think, even if you don't like holiday songs, I think you need to own. Just based sheerly on the fact that the guitar playing is incredible. Now, speaking of the guitar playing, it's great. We'll get to that in a second, but Tommy just looks damn good in that video. I mean, he's just dressed up real nice. He looks like, you know, he's like, come to the holiday party, Tommy, because you look like you're ready for it right now. In fact, bring your guitar because you'll amaze everybody there. Speaking of the guitar, I don't know what brand guitar that was. I want to say, at first I thought it was a Bourgeois, then I thought it might have been a Kevin Kopp because it kind of had a snakehead headstock. I can't tell what it is, but it sounds so good. And his playing, oh my gosh. We've got just a cascading harmonic effect at the beginning. And then, since it's an original tune, but I'm getting all these flavors of other Christmas tunes that I love. And you can see he's doing it on purpose in his arrangement, in his creation of the song. He's kind of leading you down this path thinking it's one song, and then he hits this chord that's not what you expect. And you can see it in his face. In fact, if you mute that, and you just watch his face, first of all, he's totally into playing the song. Secondly, when he hits that chord that's not the one you expect, he knows it too, because he makes this reaction. It's just so cool to see. It brings a smile to my face. I absolutely love it. Tommy, thanks for being a stellar guitar player and creating some amazing music. Now, let's move to our number 1.1 position. We looked at 1.3, that was Jerry Douglas. 1.2, that was Tommy Emmanuel. Now we're at 1.1, the true number one position, if you will, if there could be such a thing. And this is a player that, well, you don't really associate Christmas with this player ever. Really, this player is most associated with American primitive style guitar, American primitive finger style guitar. Yes, John Fahey. John Fahey made my list because he was the first acoustic guitarist that I was ever exposed to that created a Christmas album. And one that I did not expect, one that when I found it in the record bin, I remember looking, I was at a Goodwill in Chicago, flipping through the bin, and I popped on this album and I thought, oh my gosh, I just had gotten into John Fahey. I had no idea he had a Christmas album out. I pulled it out, I purchased it, I put it on the turntable at home, and it was just pure bliss. It was like 45 minutes of pure bliss. It had nothing to do with holiday songs, but everything to do with the fact that it was John Fahey, and I love the way he plays. Here's an example of his playing. Here he is playing the song Auld Lang Syne. think the directness of his playing is what attracts me to him. His arrangements are so melodically direct and raw. It's impossible to not listen to that. So speaking of Christmas albums, John Fahey doesn't only have one. He's got like 4 or 5 or 6. There's some compilations that kind of skew the discography, but I'm going to list off a couple because I think you need to have these in your collection. The first one is Popular Songs of Christmas and New Year's Eve. This is the very one I found at that Goodwill store, and I was so happy that I found it. The next one is Christmas Guitar Volume 1, and the follow-up to that, of course, was Christmas Guitar Volume 2 that has this like psychedelic lion man on it and a lamb, maybe a lion and a lamb. I don't know, it looks cool. It's mesmerizing to me. And then the last one is The New Possibility, John Fahey's solely Christmas album. I believe that one was last in terms of date release, but I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, there's so many different compilations, it kind of skews the release years for me anyway. It kind of scrambles me up, but all of those albums, I think, are very worthy of your record collection. If not for the holiday reason, definitely for a study on how to take a song and rip out the melody and present it in the most direct way possible. So really, this whole list has featured players of all sorts. We've got chord melody, we've got alternate tunings, we've got a flat picker on this list, we've got a mandolin player, a dobro player, and then we've got John Fahey, who is making these arrangements in the most direct, raw way possible. Really something for everybody. In fact, that's why I want you to check out the Acoustic Tuesday holiday playlist at acousticlife.tv/AT122, because if you play this at your holiday gathering, I would put money on the fact that whomever is in attendance is going to ask you at some point, hey, what songs are these? Who is this? I guarantee that's going to happen. I have 99.99% confidence that will happen if you play this at a holiday party. In fact, if that happens to you, if you play this holiday playlist at a party and somebody asks you who it is or what song this is, I want you to leave your report or your experience in the comments below, because I'm pretty sure it's going to happen. I have that much confidence. I really do. All right. Wow. Holy smokes. We're just burning through the artists. We're wrapped on the artists. The holiday list is there. It's there for your listening pleasure at acousticlife.tv/AT122. Again, that's a Spotify holiday playlist. And to wrap up the show, we should probably get you an answer to your Guitar Geek trivia. So just a quick review of what the question was. In the year 2018, roughly how many acoustic guitars were sold in the United States? Now remember, this includes all acoustic fretted instruments, mandolins, banjos, etc. A, 575,000, B, 716,000, C, 1.23 million, or D, 1.49 million. Well, if you answered D, 1.49 million, you're 100% correct. Holy smokes, that's a lot of instruments. In the year 2018, there were 1.49 million acoustic guitars sold. Now keep in mind, included in this category are banjos, dobros, mandolins, and other acoustic fretted instruments. Just so you get some perspective on the volume, the sheer volume of how many instruments this is, nearly every instrument requires tuning machines. And at 6 tuning machines per instrument, that's a rough total of 8,940,000 tuning machines. That's nearly 9 million tuners. I was astounded. I was being kind of a geek and calculating how many tuners would that be, and I was like, 9 million tuners. It's something you don't even think of. It's astounding to me. What a great way to wrap up 2019, to look back at the year prior and see how many guitars were sold. And I'm looking forward to seeing how many were sold in 2019, because it's just something I think that's fascinating. You always wonder, like, how many guitars are enough guitars? Well, we all know the answer to that question. It's how many you have plus 1. It's simple math. It's not that hard to be a math whiz when you're an acoustic guitar geek. It's not hard. It's pretty easy. How many guitars you have plus 1. I digress. You get the idea. All right. Well, let's take a sneak peek into next week on Acoustic Tuesday. Next week on Acoustic Tuesday, you get to spend New Year's Eve with Acoustic Tuesday. You and I, we're going to have a little New Year's Eve party. In fact, we're going to ring in 2020 in the best way we possibly can. We're going to look back at 2019 and say, hey, that was a pretty darn good acoustic infused year. But we're also going to learn how to make 2020, we're going to learn how to make it our best year of acoustic guitar yet. I've got some tips and tricks for you that I cannot wait to share. So please tune in next week on Acoustic Tuesday. Remember, you can catch Acoustic Tuesday every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time here on YouTube. And of course, for your Acoustic Tuesday fix in between Tuesdays, please visit acousticlife.tv. And I gotta say this to all of you acoustic guitar geeks, I wish you the most happy holidays I possibly can. Whatever you celebrate it with family, have a great time, be safe out there, and hug those ones that you love real tight, extra tight this holiday season. Thank you so much, happy holidays to you, and I'll see you next Tuesday on Acoustic Tuesday.